And we are on to our last caller of the evening, who believes that there are only two genders. This is Josh in Missouri. Josh, you are on with Megan and Christy.
Boy, have I got news for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, not too bad. Thanks for giving us a call.
No problem. I was told that this is your guys' first show.
Yes.
This is our big premiere.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been
Big premiere, right? Okay, well, definitely
grand reopening.
Right. Okay. So basically, yes, I do believe that there are only two genders. I'm not completely stuck with that assertion yet because I don't know, I'm open to have my mind changed. Definitely, I'm a liberal for the most part. I'm pretty anti-Trump, all that stuff. But I've always had a problem with that, with people saying, okay, there's only two, there's more than two genders. I was always sort of confused about that sort of thing. And as an atheist, I kind of like to think about everything from a scientific perspective. And scientifically, I just don't really see how there could be anything more than just two genders. So I'm going to have my mind changed.
Yeah. No,
okay.
you go right ahead.
Okay. So when you think these constructs, the idea of there only being two genders, this, of course, is something that you were brought up with, yes?
No.
No? This is something you came to on your own?
Yeah, both my parents are liberal, and my mom and sister are feminists. So.
Okay. So when you think about gender, you think there's just the two options and they're polar opposites of each other, right?
Yeah, I guess you could put it that way, sure.
Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about gender as a scale. Think of it as a sliding scale. On one end of the scale, you may have what we would classically consider female. And on the other end of the scale, you would have what we classically consider to be male. Now, move that dial around a bit.
Okay.
There's not two, and there's not three, and there's not five. Everyone, I think, is at a different place on that scale.
You can parse that line out for all 7 billion people on the planet.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
yeah, you say that you're coming from a scientific and biological perspective, and to keep it very brief, I would encourage you to read some science, read some biology, because you'll find that once you get away from the cultural stuff and you actually get into the nitty-gritty of the science, shit gets cray. There's a lot more going on, and to say that from a biological scientific standpoint that there are only two sexes is to dramatically misunderstand how genetics works. And I mean, I am a liberal arts major. I'm not properly qualified to parse all of that out, but I can tell you very clearly that there are arguments against the gender, for and against the gender binary, but the simplified genetics one is not one that holds any real clout in the scientific community, and I feel like that's a very strong consensus. We can talk about right and wrong, social, moral, cultural, but to come at it from a scientific, empirical standpoint, suggesting that genetically speaking there are only two options is to have a very flawed understanding of how basic genetics and biology operates.
Okay. Have you guys ever seen, do you guys know who Steven Crowder is?
Sorry, say that name again?
Steven Crowder?
Not familiar
myself. I can't say that I know.
Okay, well, he made a video about I thought was pretty good. He basically asked, well, he said in biology classrooms across the country, we teach that that you're born with 10 fingers, 10 toes, and everything like that. But there are...
Not everyone.
I know, that's the thing. There are cases where people are not born with 10 fingers. Some are born with 9, 11, or something like that. But for the most part, we teach that you are born with 10 fingers or 10 toes, because that is how the majority of people are born into this world. And you can sit there all day long and say, okay, well, there are people who they have, genitalia that, I've heard of cases where there have been people who have no genitalia or both a vagina and a penis. So you could say, okay, well, how could you say that this person is not both a male and or a female. But when we teach that that the majority of people are born a certain way, then yes, that's how. Shouldn't that be like the?
So you're saying that because most people fall under two genders, that all people fall under two genders?
I believe that is just an argument from popularity, or
it's super simplified. That's not really embracing the science of it.
No, and just because the population of one variation or variant might be smaller does not make it in any way invalid or wrong.
Right. Well, I've always thought of it as
Shout out to
like a mental stance more than a physical or biological stance, right? If you think that you are a female or you think that you are a male when you're not, that doesn't automatically mean, okay, yes, you are, because your genetics are set a certain way and you have certain features of you that make you male or female. Determine that. I could, let me ask you this. Why aren't you 80? Why aren't you 80 years old?
Because
I'm hoping one day
I
will
haven't
be.
been on the planet for 80 years. That's what we call truth by definition. A foot has 12 inches in it, not because it biologically evolved that way, not because God said that it was, but because we all just sort of agreed that a foot is 12 inches. I haven't been on this planet for 80 years because we all sort of agreed that a year is a measurement of time, that it covers this certain span.
And I think we're mixing two things up here in this conversation, which is sex versus gender. They are two very different things. Oftentimes, I think they do get kind of
they
put
tend
together.
to correlate, but they aren't the same thing by any means, and they're not a directly related construct.
Right, and so I think maybe then looking at it two genders or two sexes, or either way, there's more than two of both of those things.
Okay. So I hope that clears some things up, and I hope that you will dive in a little bit. And I would more than anything encourage you to take this very academic debate and put it in a human place, because I don't think that there's a lot of scientific grounding for what you're suggesting. But I think even more so when you start talking to people who identify as non-binary or who identify as transgender or have a gender and sexuality that aren't perfectly mapped out together in a linear trajectory as we assume that they do from a society standpoint, that you'll begin to recognize that it really does start to fall apart. It's very difficult to look somebody in the eye and to hear their story and come at them with what is honestly very flawed science.
And very dismissive of their own experiences, which just because their experiences do differ from yours does not make them invalid.
Right. Okay. Well, I just I encourage you to watch that video. I don't agree.
Feel free to drop it in the comments on the YouTube channel, or send it to us in an email. We'd love to continue the conversation even as we are wrapping up.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh.
Have a great day.